got called to make a contribution to a bake sale at the middle school tomorrow. So I made a test batch of brownies. It's been a while since I've made them, and then they disappeared in about an hour. So I figured, I did pretty well. I'm going to show you how I did the bake sale brownies. Now, I've seen a lot of recipes for brownies that call for one bowl, and it's supposed to be super easy. Yes, you can do it that way, but I personally like going ahead and getting a couple extra things dirty because this particular brownie walks the line between the whole cakey and fudgy argument, and it's because I do it this way. I'll explain as I go along. Now, I start out, my friend Lynn called me yesterday to send some brownies for a bake sale over at the middle school tomorrow. So I thought I'd take the opportunity to show you all how I make some pretty good brownies. Now, a lot of people are real big on brownies because there's a ton of one bowl recipes out there, and they're pretty good. But I think these are better. And a couple of the reasons that I think they're better is because I take the time and dirty a couple extra dishes. Now, I'll explain about it more as I go along, but we're going to start right here. Now, I start with 4 eggs and 2 cups of sugar. I don't mix them much. I simply want it to be fully incorporated. And the reason is, the more you beat the eggs, the closer to cake-like the brownies are going to be, and they start losing that lovely little fudgy thing, especially what happens in the middle of the brownies. That's what my sister always went after. I personally like the edges, so we had a pretty good deal. Now, I've got a cup of butter that I melted. And again, you want to melt it so that you don't have to beat it up a lot. You don't want air in brownies, and that's a lot different than when you're making a cake. A lot of times when you're making a cake, you want the air in there, and that's what gives it the lift and the rise. Not here. So we're just going to actually just fold that over a little bit. Not even going to worry about mixing it up too much. Okay? Next step. I have 2/3 of a cup of cocoa and 1 cup of flour, just all-purpose flour. I have about 1/4 teaspoon of salt and 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. Now, a lot of brownie recipes don't call for sifting out your ingredients. I do it simply because I want to maintain that texture, and of course it won't sift. I want to maintain the texture of the brownies, and that means I don't want to overmix it, but I do want everything fully incorporated. And the easiest way to do that is to mix these things in stages. So if I take the time and have a couple extra bowls to sift everything together on this side, to mix all my wet ingredients together on that side, then I will not have to mix it much at all when I put everything together in just a second. This is also a very good, look, that's a perfect demonstration of why you want to sift stuff. Okay? It's been damp here lately, so my cocoa and my flour have wanted to develop clumps. Well, you don't want that in your brownies. There. All right. Final step. Taking our wet right into the dry. I have a nosy kiddo over here. Move. Go away. No brownies for you. All right. We're going to fold these in. Now, do you remember, the classic red box that you get in the grocery store? That was one of the first things I ever made, and it always said, beat by hand, 50 strokes. Well, my best friend and I, Julie Grubb, would get those mixes, and that's exactly what we would do. We would stick our hands in it. Straight in there. My mother thought that was hysterically funny. Okay, so once we're at about this stage, we're going to start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. All right, now, look. We're almost there that early. You want to scrape up the sides and the bottom. We've got a little hidden pocket. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm actually going to make sure that there's nothing dry, and I'm stopping right there. That is going to preserve the texture of the brownies. Okay, butter and flour on the inside of a 9 by 13 baking pan. If you've got non-stick, great. Use the butter and flour anyway. Seriously, it's like a loaf pan. All right, everybody in here, and I've got my oven preheated to 350 degrees. want everything I can get out of my bowl, because there's a 9-year-old over here to my left that's getting ready to hijack my bowl. And just spread everybody out. Okay, I'm going to throw this in the oven. I'm going to let it bake for right at 35 minutes. As soon as I get it spread out. See, look, it didn't want to cooperate. Right at 35 minutes, or until a cake tester, right in the middle, doesn't come away clean. If it comes away clean, you've overbaked it. But when it comes away with just a few moist crumbs sticking to it, that's going to get your wonderful little cakey edges and your fudgy gooey middle. There we go. I stick my fingers in it on purpose. My buzzer just went off. That means I've got brownies too. All right. Wait, no, don't look at my oven. I cleaned it, but I didn't really try hard. Okay, look. This is what you want. See? You've got that nice little rim around the edges. That's my part. And all this gooey stuff in here, that seems to be what everybody else wants. So I get all that, and everybody fights it out. Okay, now these take a while to cool. Now, we're going to take really, really good brownies. And in just a second, I'm going to show you how to make them like stupid good brownies. I'm ready. All right, I'm going to show you the world's easiest frosting, which is like a super evil trick to pull on these brownies. Okay, so I've got a cup and a half, cup and a quarter of butter, and I just melted it. And I stuck my hand in the honey. All right, I also have a cup and a quarter of cocoa powder. And I love this frosting because it does use cocoa powder instead of chocolate. So there's no chopping, there's no melting, there's no messing with it. And you know, cocoa powder is a lot more inexpensive. It gives this wonderful dark chocolate fudgy thing that happens. So give it a try. Okay. Copper pot. Handle's hot. Alrighty. Check this out. See that? All you're doing. Now we're going to add the sugar. Got 3 cups of powdered sugar right in there. I'm going to take it off the heat. Turn the heat off already, but there was a little bit left in the eye, and we don't want to use it now. Okay, and then 1/4 cup of honey right on top. Honey is fabulous, and it gives this beautiful rounded thing to this frosting. And this is why brownies are so forgiving. If you noticed, I happen to have left the vanilla out of the brownies themselves. It really doesn't matter. It's great with them. Pretty dang on good without it. All right, so about 2 tablespoons of vanilla extract. And I need to show you all how easy it is to make vanilla extract. Okay? We'll do that in another video. Okay. Go slow. If you stir powdered sugar too fast, you end up wearing it, which might be a good thing, but not in this particular instance. Okay? So we're going to stir everybody together. See? I did it. Come on. Okay, we're going to have a watch me stir video. All right, tell you what. I'm going to stir this together, and I'll be back with you in just seconds. All right, I'm going to try to finish up without, like, saying exactly the opposite of what I mean anymore. Okay, now, we got everybody stirred together. See? Nice and thick. I went ahead and I gave it a little more butter. It was just a little too thick. So if yours is too thick and you think it's going to be too stiff, go ahead and put another whack of butter in there. I don't know how much a whack is. I'm sure you can find it on the conversion table somewhere. All right, now this is why you want to work while it's still warm. Because while it's still warm, you can actually spread it. Once it cools, it will dry into this really fabulous glaze, which is exactly what you want, but it's too hard to work with. Okay, so spread it around. The brownies are still warm too, by the way, not just the icing. And I will say the hardest part, this is what my kids don't understand, they do need to be completely cool before you cut into them, because that's one of the things that makes brownies shred when you try to cut it, is if they're still warm, they haven't had a chance to really adhere, and you get a lot of shreddage. Now, some people say you've got to turn this out onto a cutting board. in order to cut it and have it all perfect and nice and neat. I'm not sure how you turn frosted brownies out onto a cutting board, so I don't worry about that. What I will do is come back in a second. I'm going to show you the inside with the frosting, and you're going to really hate that you're not here. All right, I know I said they had to be completely cool before I cut them, but these are in mortal danger, and I've got too many kids here to wait any longer. All right, so trick to cutting brownies. Really sharp knife, dip it in hot water before you make every cut, and then when you do the little up and down sawing motion, and that helps keep it from tearing. And then there's the little ones in the background. They don't know about brownies. And they were coming all the way under. These are still delicate because they're still warm. But, how about that? See, the frosting is still on the top, but it kind of became one with the brownie. And it's this chocolate gooey. Oh my God, it's back in your head. That is how you really, really, really make good friends at a bake sale.